Welcome back. Today I am taking out the Russian 7-7 lineup. Specifically for this video, it is the IS-6 BTR-80 and the ZSU-37-2, better known as the Yenisei. I think that's its designation. I could be after butchering that, honestly. But the notoriously difficult SPA in the Russian tech tree. For anyone that doesn't own the ZSU-37-2, the difficulty comes from its radar. It's just not very good at tracking aircraft. It loses tracking far too easily. It also doesn't tell you an accurate tracking indicator a lot of the time. And yeah, it's a bit difficult to use. Now, the IS-6, on the other hand, quite possibly the best heavy tank in the game. It's certainly up there. I think anyone that wouldn't say that the IS-6 is one of the strongest tanks in the game still is probably fooling themselves. Yes, heat exists, and yes, heat does make this thing's armor basically not exist. But we are currently going 40 kilometers an hour. We're keeping up with medium tanks. And we have a gun that can punch through anything. We have a slightly long reload, 12 or 13 seconds, I think it is. But if you compare it to a tank we're going to kill in just a moment here, the T-32, we're in line with other heavy tanks. So I think in the grand scheme of things, this is a better vehicle than a T-32. We can basically pen a T-32 quite easily. It can pen us quite easily frontally also, but we have an easier time. So when comparing probably the two most prominent heavy tanks at the BR, we do a bit better as we say goodbye to our first T-32. And keep track of that name. I think we kill him again in a second when he goes into the normal T-32. That was the E1 that we killed, which is probably the most difficult T-32 variant to kill because it doesn't get the machine gun port on the front plate. For anyone that doesn't know, if you see a machine gun port, shoot it. A lot of the times you're going to go straight through. It's got very little armor on it. And when you're facing something like a T-32, a lot of the time, if you don't have heat, the only way to pen would be through that machine gun port. We might do a video in the future explaining where you can pen certain vehicles when you don't have the most penetration in the world. You know, there's a lot of tanks around these VRs that actually just can't really deal with something like an IS-6 frontally. But we're going to push on here. This is where we're going to be trying to get another kill off on another T-32. Poor guy. And it is the same guy. I kind of feel bad. It's the second video in a row where we are just bullying one dude. He should have known I was pushing this way, really. Pushing on anyway. The reason I took this lineup out was because I wanted to actually play the BTR-80. Since it's come into the game, I haven't actually played it. There was a lot of hype around it, and I know a lot of people rate it very highly. But light tanks aren't really my forte. I'm more of a heavy tank kind of person, and the BTR-80 wasn't really taking my fancy. But after watching a few, if I'm being honest, after watching a few clips of it being used in the Ukraine war, it kind of got me wanting to play it and see what it's all about and see what it has different about it to something like a Bradley or a Warrior. And I was really pleasantly surprised. It's a fantastic vehicle, very mobile, and you know I've recently started playing the Lukes as well, since it's basically the German version of a BTR, and I take the BTR every day of the week. I don't rate the Lukes at all. I think it's a terrible vehicle actually. It's huge and it's not very fast, and the gun is way weaker than the BTRs. But yeah, that rant is out of the way. That's for the video when I do eventually get footage of the Lukes. That might never happen. But yes, the IS-6, we're going to push away out here. And I'm just keeping a very close eye there on the right-hand side, since that's their spawn, just over there where the burning wreck was. And we're just going to start pushing across the map. They obviously hold Alpha at the moment. We've just started decapping it. And I'm just going to try and support my teammates over here. I have a teammate just on my right. He's after taking a shot. I'm going to come over and try to support him. He gets taken out, unfortunately. I'm going to go and try and take his position, since obviously he was putting a lot of pressure on this area. There's a good chance that there's going to be enemies pushing through here. So we take out Sheridan, and we are just starting to get bullied by an SPAA. And this really is probably the weakness of the IS-6 or any of the Russian heavies in general, really. Unfortunately, we over-penetrate the Sergeant York, and we get taken out. And this is the thing with these tanks, is something as small as an AML, but just because it has heat, it's able to deal with us very easily. But that's what they're designed to do, right? So, no problem. We're still doing quite well here. We're going to start pushing up to Alpha, trying to support our teammates up there. We're basically running, it's more or less a stock BTR. I think I have parts and FPE, maybe a horizontal drive or something. But, you know, we don't have very good rounds. We don't have a lot of penetration. So really, the name of the game is support. Unfortunately, the two teammates we did have up and around Alpha, they get taken out. So we divert our attention over to Bravo, keeping a very close eye on Alpha, because we are crossing a good bit of open terrain here. We do nearly get shot. Going to be very smart here and try and stay behind the wall, so it's harder for us to be tracked. But we are getting pushed here, and it's not ideal. Just keeping put here at the moment. And unfortunately, we get taken out by an Eland, who we didn't even hear. So, we're going to try and get that Eland taken out. We switch spawn, and we know now there's a good few enemies kind of starting to circle our spawns, and this is the problem with this map, right? You oftentimes, an enemy caps Alpha and it's basically game over. And it's the same even if we capped Alpha and we started crowding the other spawn. Oftentimes the game is just over before it's even begun, really. So we need to get on top of this ASAP. We need to get our team back into the game. We have two teammates crowding the other spawn, so we don't really have anything to worry about on our right-hand side. It should just be front. And I'm just being patient here. That's an S tank. Don't want to be hitting him until he is on his side. That's exactly what we do. We take him out, and even the smallest bit of penetration is going to go through him at that angle. So we are pushing up slowly here. I'm looking for the Eland. And this is a light vehicle, so I'm going to try and keep shooting through here. Unfortunately, just can't get the angle on him. We're going to use the tanks to stay behind, and we're going to try and hit him now as he's trying to run away. And you can see we just don't have the penetration. We finally get through him. And that's a VDAR, not an incredibly tanky vehicle. You know, we just don't have the penetration. Especially over a short range like that, it's just not going to work. But we do end up getting rid of a lot of the enemies around here. I don't know if the AML was taken out or not, but I am definitely cautious about it still being around. So just taking our time here. I'm waiting for my teammates to come up with me because I'd like them to go ahead of me if possible. Or at least wait for them to be close enough so that when I do get into contact, I have someone here to help. We check the corner here. Always check your corners. And we're just scanning where the enemies are most likely to be. And I'm going to try and push up and try and capture Bravo here. So we've just started losing Charlie, so there's a good chance there's a few enemies in and around Charlie. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, I need to get a cap on the board here, or else we are going to lose this game. We have a teammate here with us, an AMX 10P. Again, not a very tanky vehicle. But we do have a few teammates around us now, so you know, chances are we're in a good position. Hopefully that AMX does his job and takes care of air targets. We get the cap here, and we're going to try to just listen for any enemies coming in. Maybe try and deal with an air target if a situation presents itself. But we are not a tanky vehicle in the slightest. Unfortunately, put ourselves into a bad position there by having the building in front of us. And you can see we don't exactly move the turret very quickly either, so just a bit difficult to track an air target at the moment in this vehicle. Veek has taken out our AMX 10P friendly, so fortunately we are in a bit of a tough position at the moment. That Veek is going to know exactly where we are. Just waiting for him to make a move here. And we just get him. We're very lucky there. We probably should have lost that fight, but we didn't. And now we are in a really bad spot. We're at the mercy of the air vehicles. And thinking about it now, it probably wasn't the best idea to shoot at this guy, because there's a good chance he's going to turn around and absolutely wreck me. Yeah, I think that's what's about to happen. Yeah. Look, it happens. It's unfortunate. We're going to get into the Yenisei here now and try and salvage this game a little bit. You can see this game is pretty much lost. But you know, with this lineup, it's what I love about this lineup. It's so easy to do well with it because the vehicles are so forgiving. And you can see this is what I mean by the problem with this vehicle. We do manage to get the SK60, very luckily. And we do get the SK60 again, another one. These things are rampant at this BR, so if you see these in the air and you're in a jet, make sure you target these first. They will tear your team apart in no time. You can see we're close to a nuke here. There's a chance for one. It's a bit unlikely when you're in the AA, but, you know, there's a chance. We do get a hit there. And unfortunately, we're taken out by another SK60. So I'm going to, again, get into the Yenisei. I'm going to switch spawns because the likelihood, we do have an SPA off to the right of the other spawn. So I want to separate out the SPAs, right? And this is me just messing up all of my shots. We do eventually get that heli, thankfully. I do want to make sure it's just down. And you can see we are very close to a nuke now. Maybe one kill would probably secure it for us. So I'm starting to push up. I need to get up and support my other teammate, who is also an SPAA. And then we get a radar ping. So we know something is in the air. We start tracking it. Just keeping an eye around me as well, making sure I don't get strafed like I did the last time when I was more interested in a jet that I knew was there rather than the ones that I didn't. And we get that heli that we could hear. New one was around the place, just couldn't see it. And all we need now is to take out this jet and we get ourselves a nuke. Unfortunately, this is where you start realizing the weaknesses of this platform, but we change our aim and we get ourselves the nuke. And you can see we had to lift our aim up because the where it was telling you to shoot was wrong. Yeah. And that's where you need to be looking at the target you're aiming at and see what their inputs are. If they're starting to go up, you need to go higher than where the marker is. And that's the same with every A, which is why I don't really understand why people have such a problem with the Yenisei. It's after securing us a nuke here. It has quite literally saved the game. We were going to lose this game. There's no way about, there's no two ways about it. Our team was falling apart. We had basically no one left. We're starting to lose Charlie. You know, it was not going well. But the Yenisei did its work. We got a good few kills out of it. It wasn't a particularly fantastic game, but thank you. Very nice comment from Gertu. I actually played a few games with him after this, I believe, or I messaged him or something. I think off the top of my head, I can't really remember. But yeah, it was a good game. It wasn't anything special. The IS6 did an okay job at the start. It's real. It kind of struggles at the BR when there's so much heat flying around the place. But the BTR struggled because it didn't have its rounds. But the Yenisei really picked up at the end to secure the nuke. So it was a good game all in all. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. And I'll catch you next week for a new video.